All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Our topic for today is assistive technology for wellness. So we're going to do some introductions, an overview of the Missouri No Wrong Door, learn some new ideas and strategies for wellness, use Charting the Life course Integrated STAR to help you plan and problem solve, and hear about different technology solutions that can help. So my name is Angelina Alpert. I am a research assistant at the University of Missouri, Kansas City Institute for Human Development, and I work mainly on our No Wrong Door and Missouri statewide technology task force projects. So for anyone that is unfamiliar with the No Wrong Door, it is a grant aimed to transform the way that people access services in the community. Its main goal is to support individuals and caregivers to make decisions on complete and accurate information about their options for anyone seeking long-term services and supports, regardless of age, income, or disability. So our Missouri Open Door series, they are aimed to open doors to integrated supports. And we have our integrated support star here. The star is to help use all 5 different types of supports and services. Sometimes when an individual only has formal paid services, it can exclude them from their community and their relationships. So our goal is to make sure that they are getting all types of services and supports. That way they are integrated into the community. And this star is where our Open Door series comes from. So we have personal strengths and assets, which is skills and anything that a person is good at, any personal belongings or resources that they have. Relationships, which are your family, friends, acquaintances. Eligibility specific services are needs-based services, formal government services, something that you have to qualify for. And we have a Missouri Open Door benefit series, which is the second Wednesdays of the month, that just started not too long ago. Community-based are places that anybody would have access to, groups, local services. And then lastly, we have technology, which is anything from personal technology all the way to assistive or adaptive and environmental technology. And that is the series today. So to frame our conversation, we use the Charting the Life course framework and tools. So this is a planning and problem solving framework. And there's a set of icons and tools and strategies for implementing it into practice. So as I mentioned, today's topic is wellness. So we have an example integrated support star for wellness. So for personal strengths and assets, that would be things like knowing what's healthy to eat, understanding healthy activity, knowing how to use the equipment properly, having your own money saved up for equipment or apps or planners. Relationships could be friends, spouse, anybody that's going to help motivate you. For eligibility specific, this would be anything like health and fitness, senior programs, WIC or SNAP to help with the costs of healthy foods, low income or sliding scale supports. For community-based, this would be things like parks or walking trails, the YMCA, any local gyms, farmers markets or grocery stores, or the library. And then for technology, that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kara, Chris, and Porter.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Kara. I work with Missouri Assistive Technology. I'm the ETC program coordinator, so that's our device loan program. And then I'm also the ATR program coordinator, so that's AT reimbursement for schools. And then I'll let Chris talk.
Hello, I'm Chris Worth. I'm a PhD student at the University of Missouri St. Louis. This summer, I am an intern at the USED, and I'm really glad to be here and adding to our knowledge base.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Porter, and I'm a life navigator with the Missouri Family to Family group. We do a lot of information and referral for people. My educational background is in consumer economics. My good life is having rewarding friendships and rewarding experiences.
Okay, so as Angelina mentioned, we are going to be talking about assistive technology for wellness today. So just to kind of make talking about the assistive technology a little bit easier, I've broken it down into some different parts that go into health and wellness. So the first part being physical health and fitness, and then healthy eating, safe med management, and then self-care. So we'll be talking about assistive technology within each of these areas. And then when we talk about the technology, Chris and Porter will talk a lot about the accommodations. And then we'll kind of cover some different levels of technology within each section, some low tech, medium tech, high tech. Low tech is going to be on usually little to no technology even. When we talk about assistive technology, it doesn't have to be something that's battery operated or, doesn't need to be something that plugs into the wall. It could be assistive technology is defined as any piece of equipment that helps somebody with a disability. So just kind of keep that in mind, especially we're going to be talking a lot about some kitchen things today and some exercise equipment. And you may look at it and be like, it's not technology, and with your definition in your mind. But, we do refer to that as assistive technology. And then medium tech, that's kind of when we get into the devices that maybe need batteries, maybe need some charging, but they're still fairly simple to use. And then high tech, those are going to be more complicated to use, require more battery power, and they're typically going to be more expensive as well. So we'll talk about a variety of these. All right, so the first section I'm going to talk about is physical health and fitness. So how can technology help make exercise more accessible for everyone?
Oh, I actually I use as an exercise sort of bridge for myself so that I feel connected to a community, and we all know that it's a little easier to exercise or feel motivated to exercise when you're exercising with someone. So I use the YouTube, that great resource, to connect me to a lot of adapted exercise routines for folks. I have cerebral palsy, so for folks with my type of spasticity, I also, stress a lot of relationship support or natural supports. That's a little bit of a buzzword. So my wife, I'm lucky enough to be married to a very patient person, and she helps me. She stretches my legs every morning and gets me all limbered up. And those natural supports are very important. Porter?
So I kind of go at some of these concerns from a real personal perspective and kind of just accommodate. So sometimes I'm just doing chores around the house. I'm using my feet. I'm using my legs. If I have to pick something up, I'm using my teeth. A lot of times I'll grab a trash bag that I just tied up with my feet. I'll grab it with my teeth and walk out to the dumpster and throw it in the trash can. So my teeth are kind of like an extra hand. Some other things I do, I like to walk the pet. Sometimes they walk me. Yeah. And then I also, I add ankle weights, maybe for an hour or two a day. I wear a pound on each foot. But you can start off with like a half-pound version. And then some other things that I do just for exercise, I play hacky sack, I play horseshoes with friends, and I love to play frisbee. And that gives me a pretty good low impact workout. So there's a lot of creative ways that we can do things to just kind of get our system moving a little faster than normal.
Porter, can I add that I even I forgot to I know that we talked about this in a kind of casual way, but I wash when my in-home care worker can't help me. I wash the dishes. Anything is a possible exercise, right?
And I'm glad you reminded me of that. I use a high chair at the counter when I have to, and I'll sit there, or I might even sit on the counter and wash the dishes with my feet and rinse them off. Now, I don't tell anybody that I've done it with my feet because they won't come over a second time and eat with me.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so some other adaptive exercise equipment. So this is what we would consider low technology. Again, as you can see, most of these aren't really even technology at all, in the sense that they're not like battery operated. But some other things, some resistant bands, you could do those sitting down in a wheelchair. They have different, resistance strengths. So it just depends on, like what you're looking for, but those are great for anybody. And, I especially think of, older individuals that, maybe it's safer for them to just stay seated too. But they can still get that arm workout in. This one is really cool. It's called a limb difference aid, and it's by Active Hands. So basically anybody that has a limb difference, it attaches, it's almost like a Velcro type glove that attaches to your hand, to your limb. And you can wrap a weight around in it. So you can still get that arm workout in, even if you aren't able to grip it. And then this one, it's called a Ramble Tag. So whenever I was kind of like looking into some adaptive exercise equipment, I found this, and this is meant for individuals that are blind. And it was really cool. It's just, the individuals, I came across a story of a blind individual that likes to run marathons. And they use this Ramble Tag because it's easier and it's more secure rather than having somebody guide them by holding onto their arm, because that might be, a little bit more difficult trying to run alongside somebody while also trying, you're both running, you're trying to hold their arm. And then that could become a safety concern too, if you happen to let go, or, maybe they're running too fast and you don't have a great grip on them. So I thought that was a really neat device too. And then there's just a quick video. But sometimes whenever I look at some of these, I'm just concerned, or I'm curious, not concerned, curious how they work. So this is the limb difference aid.
Hi, just thought I'd show you how to go through and click on the limb difference aid. We've had a few people saying they're struggling to put it on properly. So as you get it, it should be coming out of the packet like this with these two straps already done up. You should also see two buckles here. Let's start by undoing the wrist strap. Put your wrist through and turn it around so that the long strap is on the back of your hand and the short strap is on the front. Tighten the wrist strap up and do it up. You've still got the two straps on the front and the back. You've also still got two buckles without any straps through them. So to begin with, open out the first strap, put the item you want to grip in your hand, and then fasten the first strap through the first buckle. Do that up tight, and that should give you a fairly good grip already. Then take the second strap. Pull that round from the back of the hand, push that through the second buckle. As you can see, I've got full fingers, So it's a little bit more difficult for me to demonstrate this, but the strap might be a little bit long, a little bit short for me, but if you've got less fingers, that should fit quite nicely. Patch that back there, and you've got the weight exactly where you want it to hold on to it and use in the gym or whatever item you're holding.
Yeah, so as you can see, I just like to be able to visualize how it works and how you put it on and everything. So as you can see, it could be used for anybody that has any sort of grip issue. And, you know, even in that extra safety measure too, because when you're, you know, working with weights and everything, you want to make sure that you have a good grip on it. So I really like that device. These are some other options that are a little, they're more what we would consider like a medium tech, medium to high tech. So this first one, it's called the Invictus Active Trainer. So it's essentially like a treadmill for a wheelchair user. So Angelina, if you want to go ahead and play that video. So as you can see, he still has the wheeling motion, so he's still getting that exercise with his arms, but the wheelchair is not moving and it's not going anywhere. And here he is participating in a spin class. So he's still able to do that, but he's not actually, you know, moving his wheelchair. Okay, and then the MyoCycle, that again is for wheelchair users. So it's like just kind of like a pedaling bike. But you can do it, it's for wheelchair users, but you could also, it could be for anybody that's just sitting down. And I think there's a video for this one too.
You have complete control over the stimulation. There are two screens that you can toggle between during the workout, the channel select screen and the power display screen. On the channel select screen, you can select or deselect the individual channels to set which ones you want to adjust. As you increase or decrease the stimulation intensity with the up and down arrows, it will affect all the channels, while others prefer higher frequencies. The MyoCycle also features a preset function that allows you to save the current stimulation settings by tapping the floppy disk with pen button. Later, if you change the settings and want to revert back, or when you start your next session, you can easily load your presets anytime by tapping the floppy disk with arrow button. This will set all the channels to the stimulation settings stored in your presets. When muscles are contracting strongly enough, your power output will start to rise.
So again, it's meant for wheelchair users, but I think of anybody, again, older individuals, where it would maybe just be safer for them to stay seated, but they could still get that exercise in. Okay, so the next section that we're going to talk about is healthy eating. So how can technology help make healthy food choices and help us prepare healthy food? So there's going to kind of be a few different components here. And I'll pass it back to Chris.
Now, a lot of times when we think of frozen food, we don't always think of healthy, right? But there are some healthy options out there. My wife and I are predominantly vegetarian, and we shop for a lot of Amy's. That's the name of a brand. Amy's meals, and it's a real accessible and healthy way, and low sodium is important. So as far as adaptive technology, as far as our kitchen, our stove is probably the most adapted to our thinking and our needs, because and it's nothing fancy. It's actually a European stove. It's smaller. It's gas. My wife is visually impaired. That's why she married me. Just kidding. And she feels more comfortable using a gas stove because she can actually kind of see the flame, and it's much safer for her than an electric stove. So that was really important to her as a person with CP who also has visual impairment.
So Around the house and around the garage, I have some low-tech solutions that I use every day. And in the kitchen, for example, believe it or not, I pour my own coffee. I'm usually sitting at a stool that is about the same height as the counter. But then I place that coffee cup on a skateboard that I had somebody make for me. It's not really a skateboard, but it looks like one, but the wheels are universal. They can go in any direction and they always cooperate with each other. So I'll set that coffee cup down on the little skateboard, and I can run that around the house or run it out on the porch. So that's kind of one way that I independently drink my coffee and do things like that. And I also have a larger skateboard that I use for bigger items that I just move around the house or move around in the garage. And it's just real simple to push around. Another thing that my wife and I have developed, it's a system in the kitchen and it also works in the bathroom. She gets the upper half of the fridge or the cabinets, and I get the lower half of the fridge or the cabinets. And so that works out. On my half, I usually have 4 or 5 carousels in the cabinets. And those carousels allow me to just spin around and get to any item. Because if I didn't have the carousel, I'd be knocking half of the items over every time I needed something from the back of the cabinet. So that's kind of a low-tech solution for me.
I bet you guys didn't think that a skateboard could be assistive technology. So just always keep an open mind. Okay, so some healthy eating apps. So I'll just kind of briefly run through these. Health Swap was one of them. It's designed for individuals with developmental disabilities. It gives you like a rating for food choices, which I thought was really nice because sometimes, we don't always, it's hard to decide what's good, what's bad, what's just okay. So this app kind of helps with that. And then you can earn points like for, the good food choices that you make. And then, activity as well. If you're out walking, running, swimming, any of that, you get extra points for that too. So it kind of almost gamifies being healthy. Another one was called 8, and it is a food diary. So you kind of log what you eat, you log how it was, how it tasted. Yeah, I think there was a few other questions in there of like, what were you feeling when you ate? Why did you eat? Did you eat because you were hungry? Because you were bored? I'm sure many of us have been guilty of eating because we're bored. So this one is more used with like a caregiver, like a teacher or a health coach. So essentially you're just kind of logging food and what you ate throughout the day. And then you would sit down with somebody and you would maybe talk through those choices. Okay, you ate a gallon of ice cream. Why did you eat a gallon of ice cream that day? What could we do instead? So some things like that. And then a few other ones, My Net Diary. So again, you log the food that you ate that day, and it'll give you a rating. I think this one, it's like letter grade. So, you can get an A, a B, a C. You can also, I like the feature, you can scan barcodes. So I had eaten some granola that day and I just tried it out and I was able to scan the granola and just log in like roughly how much I ate. And so then I didn't have to enter in like any calories, anything like that, because I was able to scan that barcode. It had all the information there. So I just said how much I ate and it logged everything else for me, so that it keeps track of your calories throughout the day. And you kind of talk about goals in there too. And then the last one was My Plate. And it's more just like an educational app. You can set goals, but it was kind of nice because it went through, all the different like food groups, some different examples of some healthy choice options. And then, so part of it is healthy eating, and then part of it is also healthy, like cooking, preparing food. So a lot of these These are very low tech options. So I'll just kind of, briefly run through these. Again, we have a lot of these in our loan program. But these are all really cool devices for somebody that has somebody that just needs some adaptive cooking tools. Maybe like when it comes to cutting, maybe if a knife, maybe that's not a safe choice for them, or maybe, they do have some grasp issues, things like that. So a rocking tea knife, I mean, it literally does what it says. You sit it down, you rock it back and forth rather than having to, do that back and forth motion, or, the chopping motion. Same with a lightweight angled knife, just a different way to cut things. There's also some cut resistant gloves too, and finger guards. So just anybody that we want to help keep everybody safe. And I know, a lot of times in kitchens, getting cut, getting burned, things like that. Those are the biggest safety issues. So those are just other things that can help keep us safe in the kitchen. And then a cutting board with holding pins. So again, that's essentially what it does. You put some food right down on the holding pin. And then that way you don't have to worry about things rolling around, especially when you're holding something and you're trying to cut, that can kind of get too close to fingers, and then, we can end up hurting ourselves. So if we have the holding pin, we don't have to worry about holding onto it ourselves, and we can just cut. And again, this is good for somebody that maybe only does have one functional arm. So you can put it down and then you can use that other hand to cut. It's the funniest name, but that is the actual name for it. It's called the Pour Thing. So that is just something you literally just stick like a carton, jug of milk in it, and then it just tips. It helps tip for you. So then you don't have to physically lift and pour. So this is good for anybody that really doesn't have the strength to lift things. I always think, my brother has Down syndrome, and just pouring things, he's not always the most accurate. So this would be great if you could just sit this down in it and just kind of tilt it. And then some grip aids. So, I mean, I've had to ask my husband a number of times to help me open things. So maybe I need some of these at home. But that first one in the top right is called the Solo Grip Jar. So you just slide it in and it kind of holds it for you. So then you can twist it with just one hand, or if you need to get that extra hand in there for some other supports. And then the Easy Twist Open Jar Opener, you set the jar down, and these are ones that have screw off lids. So you grasp that around and you're able to kind of twist that around. And then the jar key, that helps like pop the seal so you can get that open. And another thing to consider too, I don't think I have anything about this, but just an electric can opener. When you're trying to open cans. I know I just have the manual one, and it can be hard sometimes to get that on accurately and make sure that you puncture the can, and then you have to twist it all the way around. So think about some things like that too, that can be automated, that they help everybody in everyday life. But especially for those that maybe have a little bit more difficulty opening things like that. And then some other adaptive cooking tools, a locking lid with a strainer pot. So rather than having to, take your pot of boiling water and having to dump it into the strainer, possibly spilling and burning yourself, this is kind of an all-in-one. So that strainer lid, you just take that to the sink, it locks on, you can just dump the pot and strain it that way. Also, again, like I mentioned, burning, getting burnt in the kitchen, that's another safety hazard. So some heat resistant gloves, always beneficial, especially, I know I've tried to use just like a regular, pot holder that doesn't go all the way around my hand to get things out of the oven. And sometimes that's not always the most secure. So, and oven gloves too, or the oven mitts, those can be kind of hard to grasp onto things very securely. So maybe consider some heat resistant gloves. The oven rack guards. So that's essentially just kind of like a piece of, like fireproof fabric that you stick on the edge. So then whenever you're down trying to get things out of the oven, you're not burning yourself on the rack. And then with the oven sticks, you can kind of see the little groove in them. You hook that in and then you can pull the rack out. So then you can lift, get things out of it a little bit more easier. The pot stabilizer, that's just a great option for if it's a pot stabilizer. So if you're trying to, stir things in it and you don't want your pot moving around, especially, if you have something in the pot, it's going to be hot. So you want to make sure that when you're stirring, it's not going all over the place and potentially falling, spilling. So the pot stabilizer is a great option for that. And then a double metal spatula, that essentially just helps for those that don't really have the coordination to, like maybe like flip a pancake over, maybe that's or like a burger. It can be kind of difficult to, flip some things over like that. So this will help grasp onto both ends and then you can flip it. And these are some cooking tools for visually impaired. So there is a website, and I'm going to add some, I'm going to talk about some websites where I found a lot of these devices on. But this one's from the Blind Kitchen. So they're a great website. They have, a variety of things on there. So a boil alert disc, that's just whenever you stick it in your pot, and whenever your water starts to boil, it'll like start to like cling against the side. So again, if you're visually impaired, you don't really know when the water's boiling unless you can kind of hear it. So rather than, sticking your hand anywhere, trying to figure that out, the boil alert disc will let you know. The liquid alert, that's just for pouring. You kind of stick it in like on the edge of a cup. And then as you pour, once you get to that threshold, it'll start to alert you like, okay, don't pour anymore. That way, especially if you're pouring hot coffee, that way you don't start to fill it and, have the coffee go everywhere. A couple talking devices, there's the talking scale and the talking thermometer. So again, these are designed for people that are visually impaired, but I also think of people that have developmental disabilities. I know whenever I cook with my brother, he doesn't always, know exactly how much he's supposed to have, in each cup and everything. And if he had something that talked to him, he can recognize the numbers. And so if he knew that he needed to have 5 ounces of something and it said 5 ounces, he would know that he's, right on track. And then Scout, I know Scout's done some of the previous presentations. He's always getting cool stuff. So he actually came in and showed me today about a talking, it was like a talking liquid measuring cup. So I thought that was another cool device too. And then pot handle cover. I know, especially when I'm cooking, it gets really hot in there. So rather than grabbing onto something and then potentially burning yourself, just having that pot handle cover to prevent that. And then egg rings. So they call themselves egg rings, but it could be used for anything that you need to keep that circular form whenever you're cooking. So like pancakes, eggs, whatever else. So essentially you just stick that in the pan and then you can pour your, whatever you're making inside there, and it'll keep that form. And then these are some adaptive cooking tools that are a little bit more medium tech. So an automatic stove turn off device does exactly what it says. I think it somehow like possibly senses movement in the kitchen. And if you're not in the kitchen, it'll kind of give like a countdown and turn it off. And then automatic stir. So again, this is great for anybody that doesn't have that motion to be able to stir things themselves. So that's, again, it's just electric. You click the button and it'll stir itself around. An electric knife, so it'll kind of do that back and forth motion for you if you're not able to do that. And then a food processor. So I know you know, a lot of us already have a food processor in our kitchen. But this is a great option for those that, you know, can't cut up everything on their own. So maybe they can just utilize a food processor. A single stove top burner. So this is a little bit more just simple rather than having the full stove top. A single stove top. It looks like it has just one dial on the front. And you can kind of see you set your stove or you set your pot in the middle, and it kind of has almost like a visual cue around it of where you know, the areas that won't be activated and quite so hot. So again, that's great for anybody that needs that extra visual cue or just needs something a little bit more simplified. And then a smart air fryer. I know I use my air fryer all the time. So rather than you know, cooking something in the oven, potentially leaving the oven on and that having causing, you know, some fire hazard risk. I know my air fryer, it's not fancy by any means, but it will you know, I think it starts at like 15 minutes and it's going to be done after 15 minutes. It'll turn itself off. So that's another option for anybody that just needs you know, something that maybe they don't need to remember to turn off. It'll turn off for itself, and it's a little bit easier to cook in that. And then I wanted to highlight this one too, because I use this one with my brother. The Color Coded Chef, they have a website. They have a ton of things on their website, you know, like different videos and recipes and stuff. So I highly encourage you to check them out, but they are, they're basically designed for people with developmental disabilities. And it's literally everything's color coded. So again, like my brother, he has difficulty reading a recipe. So everything, we made pizza muffins actually using this kit. So he was able to do everything pretty independently by, you know, just basically going with the color coordination of, you know, he saw that the green was 1 cup. So then he was able to measure 1 cup independently. And he knew whenever that had it on there, he knew which cup to grab, which teaspoon to grab, and all of that. So all of their recipes color coordinate with their measuring cups and teaspoons. So they're just a really cool company for that. This is just a video of somebody using some adaptive cooking tools.
Hi, I'm Bob Lujano, and if you're a healthy, active person like myself, you realize the importance of continuing a healthy, active life is also being able to have a diet that's healthy. So today we're going to demonstrate using various tools and devices to help you have the independence to be able to prepare any meal that you want. Today, as it's lunchtime, and I actually have rugby practice this evening, so I'm actually going to burn a lot of calories. So today I'm going to prepare a salad, which of course is very important to have greens. In my household, it's actually a lot easier for me to prepare my food from my dining table. And plus, it helps when I use the cutting board. It gives a little bit better stability. Plus, the way this cutting board is set up, it actually is an adapted cutting board. It'll allow you to hold the food here and frees you up just to practice on or to work on the cutting. But another thing that it has is underneath it are these suction cups, which when placed on the table prevents any movement of the device, which gives a little bit better stability. So again, the apple will just be lodged in here, which then prevents me from having to hold it. And there are many different types of cutting devices. Today, I'm going to use the one that has, I guess, an extended handle, which would then allow me to just focus on being able to cut the device without even having to hold the apple. And plus, using this device allows me to grip the knife for me to be able to cut. Another adaptive device with cutting is this knife. If you're a person that may have limited finger function and impairment in your dexterity, sometimes being able to cut and slice is difficult. This is what they call a rock knife, which allows you to just basically do a rock motion without even really having to cut and slice. But by rocking the device up and back, it allows you to cut. All right, today we're going to continue cutting using our cutting board. And as you can see, we have a big head of lettuce. The device will come into play as it's able to lock down, being able to hold the salad. And again, I have the option of the big handle knife or the little handle knife. Nice. Bon appetit, baby. Next, we're going to use the adaptive knife. Again, with it being serrated, it makes it easier to cut a tomato. Bon appetit. First, again, another adaptive device is this fork with kind of a big handle, again, for people that may have limited function in their fingers and dexterity, definitely would help. Also, this plate has at the very end of it kind of a rising end to be able to scoop food up without it falling off the plate. So again, these are just examples of adaptive equipment that can benefit you as you lead a healthy, active lifestyle, which of course includes nutrition. I'm next going to prepare some soup. So what I'll do is I'll use this basic can opener, again, to open up a can. Again, sometimes some of the most basic things that you can use found in your kitchen can very much be used in an adaptive occasion to do something like soup. So I was able to pick it up high enough to where I can now pop it. The can opener. One tip that very much helps me is having this table. Just makes it easier to have it in one convenient location where I can prepare the food and then not very much have to carry it too far to get to the stove. One of the adaptive features that's pointed out here is a mirror that's listed above the oven. And what the mirror will do is will allow a person to be able to watch the food boil to where it's done. Sometimes when you have items that may have a big pot, it may be difficult to see over the top, but using that mirror, I can very much tell when it starts to bubble and it's done. Yeah, she's ready. As I'm about to eat the soup, again, let me point out the different types of devices for people, again, limited in their finger function and hand movement and grip. This is a big handled spoon. And let me point out a couple of others, these different types of devices that help, again, spoon for you to get the soup. Some of these are for people that may be left-handed. Again, this device is for someone that is left-handed. So again, just different types of devices that help people enjoy their healthy eating.
So I didn't really cover adaptive eating equipment today. It was more adaptive cooking tools. But there are so many adaptive, utensils, plates, different things like that. That there's a ton out there. So those are always an option as well. All right. So another section we talked about with health and wellness is safe med management. So how can technology help us safely manage and distribute medication? So these are just some adaptive medication dispensers. So the first one in the top left, and I didn't put names on any of these because these are just, they were very generic. So this one is just like a grip opener. So you just stick it on the top. It helps, because I know sometimes with the those pill bottles, it can be hard to grip onto that. So that's just an aid that helps grip. And then this top right one, it's just a pill dispenser. It's all color coded. It says Sunday morning, Sunday night. So that can help. Again, I think of people that have developmental disabilities, or somebody that just needs that extra visual cue to remember, whenever they need to take things. I will talk a little bit more about some a little bit higher tech med dispensers that for those that are kind of forgetful that that they take medication and maybe will take medication again and again. So I'll talk a little bit about those, but this is for somebody that they just need that visual cue, but it's not a safety concern of them, basically over medicating themselves. The bottom left one, it's just a pill dispenser for somebody that's visually impaired. So rather than just having different bottles of, like ibuprofen and Advil and whatever else, it's you basically just pour those in and you have like different like visual or tactile tops. So then, however you want to remember that, label that, so then what's in each one of those. And then this last one, this one is just like a pill popper. So you just set it on there. So rather than having to, like peel back or, get in there and pop the pill out, you just set it on top and you pop that pill out. Again, it's very generic. I know Scout has 3D printed some of those here for us. So you can, I'm sure, find those just about anywhere. So some other medication alerts and dispensers, they're a little, they're, like medium tech. So an automatic pill dispenser. So you can set up an alarm. I think there's like 30 different slots. So you can set up an alarm and basically it'll rotate whenever it's that time, it'll rotate and then you can, like open up the single, just that single slot and take those pills. So it's not you're not gonna be able to access all of that. As like whenever you're filling it up, you have to have like a special key to even get into it. So somebody, with that key would have to be the person that filled it all up. Once you fill it up and you lock it, it's only going to dispense that one single slot at the time that you set that. So again, that's somebody, I think older individuals that maybe get more forgetful and they don't know if they've taken their medication. This will let them know, like, it's not time yet, or it is time, and this is how much you take. The Med Center, the talking alarm reminder. So that just tells you, it's just basically like an alarm clock for your medication, and it will alert until you have hit the alarm acknowledge button. So it'll alert you, you need to take, pill number 1 at, and it'll just keep beeping until you acknowledge that. So that's essentially just a reminder. There's another automatic pill dispenser, the one right there in the middle, and you can see there's different slots in there. You could set this up for the whole month, or 4 weeks at a time. Or if you had to, take some in the morning, some at night, you could also set it up that way. And it's like a reminder as well. And then the e-pill, so we don't actually have one of those here, but that was another cool device I came across. It's a pill bottle and it's an alarm as well. So it'll tell you whenever it's time for you to take that medication. And then and the dose flip. So they actually came to Power Up. So for those of you that were able to attend Power Up, they just have I think you have to have possibly a subscription with that one along with the device. But it's an alarm, and they have different ways of dispensing the medication too. So I just showed you the basic one right there, but they have different ways that if you couldn't reach in and grab those pills out, they have different ones that you can tilt it and have things come out that way. So rather than having to have that fine motor function to get those out. And then the last section is self-care. How can technology make sure that I'm taking care of myself? So for this one, I really just covered, sorry, I'll let Chris talk first, and then I'll kind of get into what I covered.
Okay, I'll be quick. I use a meditation app. I have a lot of anxiety, especially around planning and things like that around my disability. So I use that meditation app. I have a pretty nice garden, but I have raised beds where I can work in that garden. I found those raised beds on that great resource called Amazon. And I have a master's in painting, so I also do a lot of painting as a way to work through stress or work through idea generation and things like that. And I make sure that I set up my painting studio in the most accessible way possible.
For me, sometimes in the early mornings, I just like to open up a window or maybe go outside and listen to the noise that all the birds are making. Other times, I just like to turn on instrumental harp music. But there's a lot of things that people can do to kind of just relax Chris and I both kind of share a passion for gardening. I love to garden, but for me, I'm using my feet with everything I'm doing. So I have a stool on wheels that also has a middle section where I can put my tools in, and then I can just push that stool around the yard. Then I can pull the items out that I need. Then I can sit there on the stool and do my work. So for me, though, a lot of times regular tools can be sometimes hard to manipulate. What I do is I use a children's tool. And so these children's tools are not as heavy or cumbersome, and they do the same kind of work. Sometimes, though, it's kind of hard to find a child's version of a tool. So then I have a friend of mine help me adapt a regular tool, and he will put it on a little grinder and sand it down to where it's thick enough for me to grab it with my toes, but it still keeps the strength of the tool, and I'm able to use it around the yard. So there are a lot of things that people can do just to relax and but those are some of the things I'm doing.
Okay, so I just kind of covered with like when it comes to self-care, there's so much that goes into self-care. Like with mental health, like leisure activities. So I kind of went the more route of like going to the doctor, and that type of self-care. Because I could talk all day about, assistive technology for mental health and leisure. But this one, I'm just going to briefly run through this because we're getting close on time. So just some appointment reminder apps, literally one called Appointment Reminder. There's also a reminder call that you can have set up to call you and remind you of when your appointments are. And then G Reminder. And then also just another thing to consider is telehealth options. If you're not able to drive to make it out, whether you are not able to drive or just not able to physically leave your house, just think about the different telehealth options. I think that's a great thing that did come from COVID is that, we can utilize telehealth a lot more easily now. And then just some things to consider with technology, how you have or get a device, how you, different ways that you can learn how to use the device and how to maintain the device. And then I just wanted to put some links for the websites that I found a lot of this stuff. So the first two, the first one was all of the exercise equipment that I found. The second one was exercise equipment and a lot of the cooking stuff. And then the last three, those are a lot of cooking stuff, and MaxiAids has a lot of different, they have all kinds of things on there. So just some websites to check out, on your own time. Angelina, I'm going to skip this one for now. Yeah, we can skip these. I'll let you get to your announcements.
Okay. And these slides and the recording always get sent out afterwards. And the recording also gets posted on YouTube. So you will be able to see the slides that we had to go a little quick through. But our No Wrong Door stakeholders meeting is coming up on July 19th. That is an opportunity to network, share, learn, and create No Wrong Door culture in Missouri. Then our next technology series will be July 26th, and the topic for that one is going to be staying safe at home. And then our benefit series, as I mentioned earlier, is the second Wednesday of the month. So that one's a little bit earlier. That one's going to be July 12th, and that will be paying less for Medicare options. And if you missed the first two in that series, those are also posted on our Charting the Life course YouTube as well. We also have our Missouri Family to Family Resource Center here under the Institute for Human Development. There are Good Life groups, which are for interactive peer learning collaboratives that allow for hands-on learning. We also have our CTLC and F2F quarterly stakeholder meetings. Our next one is going to be August 10th. And then if you're interested in learning more about Charting the Life course and any of the foundation stuff or tools, you can go ahead to lifecoursetools.org, and you'll be able to find all of our information on trainings there, as well as all of our all of our tools that are open to anybody. And that wraps it up for today. Thank you, Kara, Chris, and Porter for joining us, and thank you all for joining us. And we will see you next time.